Hey everyone! Welcome to this little adventure into the world of Warhammer 40,000, or as fans like to call it, Warhammer 40k. If you've heard the name but have no clue what it's all about, don't sweat it. This video is here to give you a quick and easy intro to this huge, epic universe. Imagine a galaxy packed with never-ending wars, larger-than-life heroes, and some seriously dark twists. Sounds intense, right? Well, it is. And if you like what you hear, stay tuned, we'll explore the factions, characters, and stories in more detail later on. Now, let's start from the beginning. Where did Warhammer come from? Warhammer 40k has its roots in the 1980s, when a British company called Games Workshop created a tabletop game called Warhammer Fantasy Battles. It was set in a gritty, medieval world full of knights, monsters, and magic. People loved it. But in 1987, Games Workshop decided to take that same idea and give it a sci-fi makeover. And just like that, Warhammer 40,000 was born. What started as a spin-off quickly turned into something massive. Today, Warhammer 40k is one of the most popular sci-fi universes out there, with books, video games, and even movies inspired by its lore. It's a whole galaxy of stories waiting to be explored. So, ready to dive in? Let's go! What's Warhammer 40k all about? At its heart, Warhammer 40k is a grimdark vision of the far future. Grimdark means it's dark, gritty, and often pretty brutal. Picture this: humanity is constantly on the edge of extinction, surrounded by enemies from all sides, both outside and within. It's a universe where war never stops, survival is a daily battle, and hope is a rare and precious thing. But don't think it's all doom and gloom. This universe is also packed with incredible stories of heroism, sacrifice, and the fight to survive. It's a wild mix of dystopian sci-fi and gothic fantasy. Imagine spaceships that look like flying cathedrals, ancient gods, and super soldiers in massive, high-tech armor. It's as epic as it sounds. A quick timeline of Warhammer 40k. The 40,000 in the name isn't just for show, it refers to the year 40,000 in this universe. But the story doesn't start there. It stretches back tens of thousands of years, divided into different eras called millennia. Let's break it down. Fourth millennium, the discovery of the warp. One of the biggest turning points in Warhammer history was the discovery of the warp. The warp is a strange, otherworldly dimension that exists alongside our physical universe. It's a place of pure energy, shaped by the thoughts and emotions of living beings. The warp is both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, it allows for faster-than-light travel, which lets humanity explore and colonize the stars. On the other hand, it's home to some seriously scary stuff like chaos gods. These are four incredibly powerful beings that feed on emotions and psychic energy. Tzeentch, the god of change, schemes, and magic. He's all about plotting and manipulation. Nurgle, the god of decay, disease, and despair. He's, well, gross, but weirdly comforting to his followers. Khorne, the god of blood, war, and violence. His motto: blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne. Slaanesh, the god of excess, pleasure, and obsession. Slaanesh is all about pushing boundaries, often in very disturbing ways. 15th millennium, the dark age of technology. This was humanity's golden age. Technology advanced to incredible levels, and humans spread across the galaxy. Some of the coolest inventions from this time include the Iron Men, sentient robots designed to serve humanity. But, as you might guess, things didn't go well. They rebelled and caused a lot of destruction. Warp drives and Gelare fields. These allowed ships to travel through the warp safely, well, mostly safely. Navigators, a special group of mutants who could see the warp and guide ships through it. Psykers, humans with psychic powers, able to tap into the warp for abilities like telekinesis or mind reading. But, as they say, all good things must come to an end. The dark age of technology eventually collapsed, plunging humanity into chaos and setting the stage for the darker eras to come. 26th millennium, the age of strife. Everything fell apart. The warp became unstable, cutting off planets from each other. Civilizations collapsed, and humanity was plunged into chaos. It was a dark time of war, famine, and regression. But then, a savior appeared, the Emperor. 30th millennium, the Imperium, the Great Crusade, and the Emperor's Primarchs. A galaxy in chaos, humanity scattered and struggling to survive. Enter the Emperor, a superhuman being of unimaginable power and intelligence. He had a vision, to unite humanity under one banner and restore it to its former glory. And so, the Imperium of Man was born. But the Emperor knew he couldn't do it alone. That's where his greatest creations came in, the Primarchs. The Primarchs were like something out of a legend, 20 genetically engineered superhumans, each the size of a small building and smarter than a supercomputer. They were designed to be perfect leaders, each with their own unique strengths and personalities. From these Primarchs, the Emperor created the Space Marines, elite warriors clad in power armor and armed with devastating weapons. Together, they launched the Great Crusade, a massive campaign to reclaim lost worlds and bring humanity back together. But here's where things get messy. Chaos, a force of pure destruction and corruption, stole the Primarchs as babies and scattered them across the galaxy. Some grew up to become legendary heroes, while others, well, let's just say things didn't go as planned. Take Robout Guilliman, for example. Known as the Revenging Sun, he's a master strategist and the closest thing the Imperium has to a CEO. While the Emperor now naps on his golden throne, Guilliman's trying to hold everything together. Then there's Sanguinius, the angel-winged warrior who's basically the heartthrob of the Imperium. His tragic death fighting Horus still makes fans emotional. And don't forget Vulcan, a gentle giant who loves hugs but also enjoys smashing enemies with a flaming hammer. But not all Primarchs stayed on the right path. Some fell to chaos, like Angron, who got a brain implant that turned him into a rage-filled monster, or Magnus the Red, a psychic genius who accidentally broke the Emperor's secret project. So, while the Great Crusade started with hope and ambition, it was also the beginning of a story filled with heroism, betrayal, and tragedy. And trust me, this is just the beginning. 31st millennium, the Horus Heresy and the rise of chaos. The Emperor's favorite son, Horus Lupercal, the brightest star of the Primarchs, the one who was supposed to lead humanity into a golden age. But then, chaos, a force of pure corruption and temptation, whispered in his ear. It showed him visions of a future where he was forgotten, where his sacrifices meant nothing. And Horus, the hero, fell. This betrayal sparked the Horus Heresy, a massive civil war that tore the Imperium apart. It wasn't just a war of armies, it was a war of ideals, of brother against brother. Horus led half the Primarchs and their Space Marine legions against the Emperor, and the galaxy burned in the conflict. In the end, the Emperor defeated Horus, but the victory came at a terrible cost. The Emperor was mortally wounded, his body broken. To keep him alive, he was placed on the Golden Throne, a massive life support device that sustains him, but just barely. To this day, he sits there, a shadow of his former self, worshipped as a god by the Imperium. But let's talk about chaos, because it's not just bad guys in space. Chaos is temptation. It's those little voices in your head, offering you power, revenge, or your deepest desires. But the price? Your soul. Even the noblest heroes can fall. Take Horus, for example. He wasn't evil, he was manipulated, shown a future that broke him. Then there's Fulgrim, another Primarch. He was a perfectionist, obsessed with beauty and art. But when he picked up a cursed sword, it twisted him into a snake-legged demon who now finds joy in torture. Chaos Space Marines aren't just villains, they're tragic figures. Many still wear their old armor, now defaced with spikes and demonic symbols, a grim reminder of what they once were and what they've lost. The Horus Heresy wasn't just a war, it was a lesson. A reminder that even the strongest can fall, and that the line between hero and traitor is thinner than it seems. And the echoes of that war still shape the galaxy to this day. 32nd to 42nd millennium, the Endless War. Fast forward to the 41st millennium, and the galaxy is still a battleground. The Imperium is constantly under attack from all sides, and the Emperor's dream of unity is long gone. Here are some of the major factions fighting for survival. The Imperium of Man, a massive, authoritarian empire ruled in the Emperor's name. It's a brutal regime, but it's also humanity's last hope against the horrors of the galaxy. Chaos, the dark forces of the warp, including corrupted space marines who've turned against the Imperium. They're fueled by the chaos gods and thrive on destruction and corruption. Orcs, big, green, and always looking for a fight. They're violent, simple-minded, and oddly hilarious. Orcs live for battle and believe that if they fight hard enough, they can make anything happen even if it defies logic. Tyranids, a terrifying swarm of alien creatures that consume everything in their path. Think of them as a galactic locust plague, but with claws, teeth, and a hive mind controlling them. Eldari, or Eldar, an ancient, once great race now on the brink of extinction. They're highly advanced and psychic, but their past mistakes have come back to haunt them. Necrons, ancient robotic beings who've been around since before humanity. They're waking up from a long slumber and want their galaxy back, no matter who gets in the way. Tau Empire, a young, advanced race with a philosophy of the greater good. They believe in unity and progress, but their methods can be just as ruthless as anyone else's. The galaxy is a chaotic, dangerous place, and every faction has its own agenda. Whether it's survival, conquest, or just causing mayhem, the war never ends. Why Warhammer 40k is so popular, and still awesome? Warhammer 40k isn't just a game, it's a whole universe. Imagine a galaxy so vast and detailed that no single story or book can cover it all. Instead, it's a sprawling collection of stories, games, and miniatures that let you explore it piece by piece. Whether you're into epic battles, deep lore, or just love the idea of Gothic cathedrals in space, there's something here for everyone. So, what makes Warhammer 40k so special? Let's break it down. First, the lore is endless. Picture hive cities where billions of people live in crushing poverty, while secret inquisitors hunt down heretics in the shadows. There are alien races with their own dark agendas, ancient gods whispering promises of power, and heroes who are as flawed as they are brave. No matter what kind of story you're into, you'll find it here. And speaking of flaws, that's another reason Warhammer 40k stands out. There are no clear-cut good guys. The Imperium of Man is a rigid, authoritarian regime that demands absolute loyalty and crushes dissent in the name of survival. Chaos. It's pure corruption and madness, offering power at a terrible cost. Even the so-called noble alien races, like the Eldar or the Tau, have their own dark secrets and questionable morals. Everyone's a little bit broken, and that makes the stories feel real and relatable. Then there's the aesthetic. Imagine Gothic cathedrals floating in space, warriors wielding chainsaw swords, and giant robots called Titans that are so massive they can step on tanks like they're bugs. It's over the top, dramatic, and absolutely unforgettable. Warhammer 40k is more than just a game or a story, it's an experience. It's a universe where you can lose yourself, whether you're painting miniatures, diving into a novel, or rolling dice on the tabletop. And that's why it's still awesome, decades after it first began. So, what's next? If you're hooked, let me know which faction or era you want to explore. The Warhammer 40k universe is like a black hole. Once you fall in, there's no escape. But hey, at least you'll have cool stories to tell. Thanks for watching, and remember, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war, and a lot of drama. See you next time.